Fumiko presents an enticing cyberpunk concept. Set within the digital realm, Fumiko is a story-driven platformer with low poly visuals, extraordinarily high platforming, and a thematically sound narrative. However, none of these three aspects are implemented particularly well, making the game into, at best, a simplistic platformer and at worst, a complete slog. Caught between the conflicting narratives of several omnipotent and mysterious voices, Fumiko begins her adventure for truth by exploring several linear sections, with levels gradually opening up in both size and concept until stages begin to feel more like unique worlds as opposed to finite levels. The game touches on points like AI comprehension, emotion, and the metaphysics of a computer. Unfortunately, the storytelling method hardly does these ambitious themes justice, mostly resorting to the player pressing A through walls of text as they move from one NPC to another, or waiting for a level to begin after paragraphs of dialogue. Fumiko tries to say something interesting, but with text being the sole narrative force, Fumiko's mystique is entirely usurped by its dull communication. Fumiko is 3D platforming at its simplest. Fumiko can jump in increments, as well as dash to quickly gain additional ground. The heights to which Fumiko can soar are impressive, adding a sense of power to the otherwise traditional formula. There are timed pickups for interaction and invulnerability, adding some variety to the platforming, though the basic platform hopping design rarely changes. Due to the transparency effect of many textures, however, landing can sometimes be an issue without heavy adjustment of the camera. When engaged in a chase or action sequence, things become more difficult, with off-screen obstacles and sudden deaths blindsiding the player. Checkpoints are frequent, usually placed right before a set of obstacles or action sequence. Though death has little consequence besides resetting to the last checkpoint, the confusing design of Fumiko's environments means even the simplest of tasks can sometimes take multiple attempts. While it follows a sort of red is bad color rule to an extent, many services simply have no tell as to whether or not they are safe, making figuring out what killed Fumiko to be a testing affair. Fumiko's challenge is too often a result of what was that rather than actual floor plan layout. This holds true for some of the later levels, which become truly massive. Finding the next guide trail among all the visual noise feels unfair, having players leap about until a far-off hidden platform comes into view, often after dozens of unsuccessful plummets. What's worse is checkpoint resets often come so fast the camera can't readjust, inadvertently sending players back the way they came. Graphical confusion aside, Fumiko's visuals leave the promise of a 32-bit style platformer unfulfilled. Animations are scarce and simple, even more so than anything from the era it pays homage to. If Virtua Fighter could have hundreds of unique action and reactionary movements set to a single character in 1993, Fumiko could at least look like her feet touch the ground when she walks. The visuals do have a beauty to them when still, but once in motion, Fumiko feels stiff and primitive in a wholly unenjoyable way. The music, though cute, repeats far too often, making every scene and level feel the same, and tonal changes completely impractical. Fumiko is a set of good ideas poorly executed. It's a passable platformer for as much time as you want to spend reading or skipping text, but it fails to utilize its setting, concept, or narrative in an engaging way.